Okay, so I'm just gonna get started because I've been trying to do this for hours and I keep forgetting this or that. Couldn't find this or that. My throat started hurting. Had to make some tea. And then I couldn't see. I forgot my glasses. I had to get up. Then I came back and they were right there where I had already looked. It's just, but I am gonna read this. So we're reading from Shadow Syndrome, the mild forms of major mental disorders that sabotage us, and identify the hidden time bombs in your personality. Okay, and these are just words how they word it, but it's good information in here. Okay, so I pulled the book open again today, and it's still on like the angry parent or adults who tantrum. And this is about who's in charge. So let's see. Well, we didn't know God's in charge because He is. He's the creator of heaven and earth. He holds all of our hearts in His hand. We have to measure and fit through this figure eight right there. Movement through that. This says take action. Change of power, walking away. Who holds the key to your emotions controls you, trapped or free. Interesting. All right, I'm just going to start reading now, okay? Who's in charge? No doubt, some readers, certainly readers who have never experienced an anger attack, will be skeptical. After all, you might argue Gary does not tantrum at work. He manages to keep his temper at least partially under control there. Why, you may ask, can't he control it at home? Carol Tarvis, a skeptic when it comes to biological explanations of bad behavior, has made the same observation vice versa. Vice a this. Vice a this. Vice a this. Okay. The tantruming of major sports figures, which she observes has risen dramatically in recent years. Although environmental psychiatrists might disagree, Tarvis argues that it is unlikely athletes' anger biology can also have risen dramatically in the 10 or 20 years during which sports like tennis have become so much less civilized. What? She concludes that for tantruming athletes, something other than biology is at work. We are witnessing an increase in anger and aggression in contemporary sports, not because of instinct, but because of rewards. In many cases, angry displays have become good business for management and successful strategies for players. Tarvis points out that even a famous tantrumer like John McEnroe knows when to hold his fury. And she cites his statement that against Borg, I always have, I know to, as Tarvis puts it. McEnroe, in short, knows how to use his tantrums to his advantage and to control himself when that's not to his advantage. When that's to his advantage. Okay. He knows how to balance. He knows how to play. Okay. The seeming ability of people with brain-based problems like anger attacks to control these problems, which they must make them what? The seeming ability of people with brain-based problems like anger attacks to control those problems when they must makes them maddening to know to those who live with them. Okay. I don't know what that's supposed to be makes. When they must make them maddening to those who live with them. I don't know. Parents of children with attention deficit disorder who often, though not always, experience anger problems as part of the syndrome invariably make the observation that their child can pay attention when he wants to. The fact is, sometimes hyperactive children can pay attention as well as the next child, and sometimes they can't. Parents and teachers reason, like Tarvis, that if a child is capable of doing it sometimes, as John McEnroe, he is capable of controlling temper sometimes, he should be capable of doing it always. Gotta take this sweater off of this red light. Woo! It's burning up. I'm hot. Child. Whew. So, unfortunately, this is not the way biology or self-discipline works. One confusing aspect of the shadow syndrome is that while the person with the mild difference in the brain can control the effects of that difference to a large degree, doing so requires great energy and high, even fierce motivation. In other words, not tantruming for a person prone to anger attacks is completely different from not tantruming for a naturally calm person. Who does not have a temper, or the person who is biologically given to anger attacks remaining calm in the face of aggravation is always an unnatural response. Sometimes he or she can do it, but it takes tremendous effort. Speaking of this issue as it applies to children and with ADD, Dr. Alan Phillips, assistant clinical professor in the Department of Psychiatry at UCLA, puts it this way. The child with an attention deficit can pay attention, but it takes that child 100% motivation to do what a normal child can do with only 55% motivation. Wow. There's the rub. How many of us can maintain a state of 100% motivation all the time? Few. To understand what it is like for a person with a brain-based problem to keep up this level of motivation, thinking of dieting, probably every would be deterred among us. Oh, dieter. Oh my God. Okay. To understand what it is like for a person with brain-based problems to keep up this level of motivation, think of dieting. Probably every would-be dieter among us is capable of controlling his or her calorie intake, perfectly controlling it for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and a week. But 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months, a lifetime? All dieters have off days, pizza, ice cream, and chocolate chips, cookie days, which is why diet books and magazines invariably ask successful dieters to share their strategies for handling lapses. That is the problem for a person prone to anger attacks. A tantrum is worse than junk food spree. A person given to anger attacks cannot afford to have any lapses at all. One slip for him or her has far more serious consequences than does one slip for a dieter. This is the challenge. A person with a brain-based difference faces to control his or her temper every day, all day, forever. Okay, good. Okay. 3 more paragraphs because my neck hurts now. This explains, too, why people with brain-based differences tend to be at their worst at home with the very people they ought to treat the best. The family who loves them. This essence of home is not having to police oneself every second, not having to perform. Home is where we go to relax. The problem is when the person who suffers anger attacks relaxes, his vigilance, his traumas, his tantrums fly out of control. There is, of course, a second reason why people tantrum at home. It is precisely the people we love who threaten us the most because they make us feel ashamed of our ugly behavior. The psychology of the rageful person, as distinct from the biology, is the psychology of shame. Shame is not to be confused with all the too familiar notions of low self-esteem. Shame indicates a state of self-loathing or at the very least self-disgust. And shame demands concealment. The person who is ashamed hides himself from the eyes of others. While most people who suffer self-disgust feel able to keep a shameful core. Okay, battery's low. While most people who suffer self-disgust feel able to keep shameful core hidden from colleagues and acquaintances, it is impossible to hide from the eyes of lovers and families who know us so well. The people with whom we live see through us, or so we believe. Thus, the mere sight of a family member who has done nothing at all to provoke a shame-filled tantrum can cause him to feel exposed, and then, in short order, enraged. A sequence very apparent in Gary's relationship with his wife as well, as we will see. Since Tavris points out, even the worst of tantrums do not tantrum 100% of the time, though there are certainly several brain-damaged individuals who do just this. The psychology of shame helps to explain the psychological triggering factors that set off the tantrumers' vulnerable biology. Thus, the fact that a person like Gary can control his temper under certain circumstances and not under others does not mean that we are gods within ourselves, that we exercise an ultimate authority from a high over our thoughts and our actions. That Gary could partially control a tantrum at work does not mean that he could have controlled his tantruming at home simply by choosing to do so. He could not. He had tried everything. He was highly motivated. He certainly did not want to be throwing fits, but he could not stop his anger attacks once they began. Whew. I hope you got the gist of that. My neck hurts. Okay, bye.